Hey there YouTube, Tristan Blaze back again. This week on The Walking Dead. That is right, Legacy Deck Tech time again with Tristan Blaze. Walking Dead, Zombardment combo in Legacy. Basically, it is an aggro combo, 4-color, graveyard recursion, disruption build. Predominantly black, splashing white, green, and red for card drawing, disruption, just mindless destruction, board wipes, the usual shit. Oh, let me take a hit off of that menthol real quick. Alright, so we're going to get into the deck. So we got 4 Tide Hollow Scullers. It is a 2/2, white and a black. When it comes into play, target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card. They remove it. When it leaves play, they get it back. Now, here's how you abuse it. You respond to the comes into play ability with a sacrifice effect that can be done at instant speed, either with a carrion feeder to put a 1/1 counter on the carrion feeder, or Goblin Bombardment to deal 1 damage to a creature or player. It does not work with Cabal Therapy because it is a sorcery speed flashback, so you can't do it that way. So basically what you do is you put it on the stack. Leaves play ability goes on top of the comes into play ability. They didn't have a card removed by that Tide Hollow Sculler, so they get nothing back. You then have the comes into play ability resolve, permanently remove a card from your opponent's hand. So that's how you can abuse it and just say, okay, yeah, your best card, yeah, get rid of it, I don't care. We then have our Bloodghast, 2/1, can't block. If your opponent has 10 or less life, it has haste and the landfall ability. Now the landfall ability will come into play a lot if the game starts to drag on. So you could like recur it, sacrifice it, recur it, sacrifice it, recur it. So you could do that like 2-3 times a turn in some situations. So it could add up to a lot of counters again for carrion feeder, a lot of damage for Goblin Bombardment. So it could be really, really brutal when you get like that one turn that just everything comes into play. We then have our other recurring creature, Gravecrawler. Can't block, 2/1 for 1. If you control a zombie, you may play it from your graveyard, as though it were in your hand, okay? Your Tide Hollow Scullers are zombies. Your Gravecrawlers are also zombies. And also your Carrion Feeders are zombies. Now these guys are going to stay into play. They're not something you want to be sacrificing. They can't block. A lot of stuff in this deck really can't block, but we're normally just going to be killing you, and caring about blocking is something that other decks have to worry about. We don't really. It's a 1/1 for 1 zombie. Sack a creature, put a 1/1 counter on it. It does not leave. It's not like Nantucket Husk where it's like until end of turn. It is permanent. So with Gravecrawlers, with Bloodghasts, you can amount you can amass a very large number of counters on this guy. Like you can have this guy like a 12/12, a 13/13, like a really, really big dude. Okay? Relatively quickly. We also have our Deathrite Shamans. And we can use first of all, we can use all the abilities. We could exile creatures if you're sacking Tide Hollow Scullers and gain life. We could exile instants and sorceries and force our opponents to lose life if we gotta grind them out. And because we're also running 9 fetch lands, we can easily generate mana whenever needed to cast a myriad of the spells in our deck. Also creating large numbers of spirit tokens, which you see here. Other parts of our disruption are going to be Thoughtseize and Cabal Therapies. Thoughtseize, obviously, just to get rid of anything but non-land cards. Worrying about the loss of life, counter that with stuff like Deathrite Shamans by just removing any type of creatures that you pull from Thoughtseize and Cabal Therapy, obviously. Sacrificing, I don't know, stuff like Bloodghast, stuff like Gravecrawler, which you can then bring back, so you really don't lose a lot with Cabal Therapy there. Faithless Looting is, again, flashback, a lot of graveyard-based style play in this deck. If you're running in an environment that has a large amount of graveyard hate, don't play this deck, by the way. Just don't play it if you have, like, if every deck you come up against is like Relica Progenitus, Tormod's Crypt, Leyline of the Void, just don't play this deck, man. It gets wrecked. But it can also be very fast. So we get to draw 2, discard 2. We're running, let's see, 4, 8, 12, 16 cards that could work in our graveyard, plus Faithless Lootings, which you could also discard. So 20 technically that you could either flashback or recur. So about a third. So a third of your deck is basically just, yeah, I can play it from my graveyard. Yeah, don't care. And the flashback cost is only 3. You know, flashback. I've flashback Faithless Looting before. It's not a bad thing, but you really need some amazing stuff to flash it back. We got our Lingering Souls to generate our tokens for chump blocking or for Goblin Bombardment. It's an awesome enchantment. Love it. Sack a creature. Ping a dude for 1 or ping an opponent's creature for 1. Normally, it's going to be pinging your opponent if you've got a lot of stuff in play, because you could really just drop the life total quickly with multiple multiple landfall triggers off of fetch lands via Bloodghast, multiple castings of Gravecrawler in 1 turn. So you could really, really quickly just wreck your opponent with the bombardment. And then we have a Singleton Abrupt Decay. Yep. Can't be countered, destroy target permanent with non-land permanent with a mana cost 3 or less. Now we're going to move into the mana base. We have 9 black-based fetch lands. You could run any 9 black-based fetch lands you want. A split of like 4-4-1. I went 3-3-3. I went 3 Verdant Catacombs, 3 Myers, and 3 Polluted Deltas, all from 3 different sets because that's the type of guy I am. 4 basic swamps. I recommend full art or alpha or beta. Anything else is uncivilized. 1 Undiscovered Paradise. I originally ran 2, but I shrunk it down to 1. This abuses, again, the ability of Bloodghast, allowing for that landfall trigger every turn to just, okay, bring it back. Sack it to Bombardment or Carrion Feeder. A lot of tokens, or a lot of counters on Carrion Feeders, and just swing for the fences. You gotta block it if it's 10-10, dude. Or, again, just dealing damage with Bombardment. Now, the duels. Like I said, we're splashing colors. We're going to run 2 Bayous, 2 Scrublands, and 2 Badlands. So we have access to the red, the green, the white, and the black mana for whatever we need. Now what we're going to do is we're going to clear this out, and I'm going to put up the sideboard relatively quickly. Okay, now the sideboard, I went with a basic stock like net deck build for a sideboard with very, very few differences that you would see anywhere else. So we're going to go with 2 copies of Perish for basic green hate. If there's a lot of white decks in your area, you could just replace that with Virtues of Ruin. You could run Toxic Deluge if you wanted to, but some form of like a mass removal. You know, not like based off of Engineered Plague, but just something like mass removal for a certain color you might, not like. So like, Perish for green, Tarmogoyf and Elves and stuff, 2 Oblivion Rings for problem permanence, random decks, show and tell, obviously. Just gonna, you're gonna want to put something in there. Of course, we got more Abrupt Decays, just in case you need Abrupt Decay, which you probably always will if you're playing green and black. I don't care. You're probably going to need it no matter what. We got a Singleton copy of Dark Blast. Again, Graveyard Recursion is kind of a theme in this deck. For those standard pesky, you know, 1 toughness creatures, you know, Thalia being a problem for a lot of decks. We got our 2 copies of Zealous Persecution, pump your own guys, and reduce the power and toughness of your opponents. And it's instant speed, so you can run this in like a combat situation, like as like a surprise trick for like them attacking you or you attacking them against like goblins or something. Probably be freaking hilarious. 2 copies of Disenchant on top of Abrupt Decay to take rid of any like artifacts, enchantments that you might not like. 2 copies of Meekstone for, you know, Reanimator. Stuff like, you know, Show and Tell. You know, something really big. You know, really, really big. Because you could just easily keep a lot of your guys as like a 2/2 or more. Yeah, hi. How you doing? How you doing, Pounce? How you doing? Get away from the, you know, get away. Get away. Hey, how you doing? And then for any type of a graveyard hate, we got Tormod's Crypt. For those random matchups, I mean, maybe the mirror match, of course. But I haven't really seen many people play this deck. I like it. It's interesting. It's a 4-color deck, and as my last deck, I think my last deck was Eldrazi. My 4-color Sliver deck, on the other hand, I like decks that have a lot of dual lands. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? It's an interesting combo aggro build. You could just come out of the gates swinging with like carrion feeders that are like 7/7s and just beat people down. Yeah, hi, I'm doing a video, buddy. Or you could come at it with a combo element where you're just generating just landfall triggers and goblin bombardment damage for the win. So again, this is The Walking Dead. This is the sideboard that my cat now wrecked. And he's now sitting on part of the cards. But as long as not the dual lands, I don't care. So like, comment, subscribe. Share this video if you play Magic the Gathering. You know, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Xhamster. You know, the usual social media sites that I'm on. Tristan Blaze. And I'm getting attacked by my cat now. Peace.